Broadcasting live from the fair Basilica on the horrible, disgusting plain of New Phyrexia, it's Tap Tap Concede. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Tap Tap Concede, where I am joined by the PPR guests for our All Will Be One pre-release. It's very cool. This is coming out after the pre-release has happened, but it was recorded beforehand. Ooh, magic.
Oh, that was cool how I won.
Oh, yeah. All of your decks did so much better than all of our decks.
Thanks.
I think. It's not really like guests for... Anyhow.
We completed them.
No. So who is completing our podcast lineup? I've got Jim Lepage from Spike Feeders and the Commander Rules Committee.
Hi.
We've got Becca Scott from Good Time Society.
Oh, hello.
And we've got Princess Weeks from her eponymous and beloved YouTube channel, Princess Weeks.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
And speaking of things that are pleasurable to have, our sponsors. As always, this show is brought to you by Card Kingdom. They're a kingdom of cards, but also a website that sells you cards. And if you're going to buy cards, you can put in the Loading Ready Run affiliate code, and you can say, LRR sent me, button please. And this time, the button you receive will say, a pox upon the auto tapper, which Becca and I, as limited players, understand that button.
A pox. Pox upon it.
Yeah. But we wish no poxes upon you, our wonderful and kind supporters of our Patreon at patreon.com. Your support is what helps us pay people to be here and keep the lights on and everything like that. And we really appreciate it. So thank you so much. All right, on to the content. We're all Magic players, and that means we all have Magic stories where we have bad beats, where we've been demolished, we've been humiliated, we have been utterly ground into a paste by a merciless and better equipped opponent. And all of those wonderful poetic ways of saying that you lost a lot. This is a question I love to ask, and I'm going to start off with Jim because he's sitting next to me and he's like, oh my gosh, I have a story for you.
Oh yeah, it's real like pasty.
Oh, excellent. All right, tell us about a time where you were demoralized.
Yeah, so it's a Commander story, obviously. I play a lot of Commander. And I was playing my Azorius Changelings deck. So the whole idea behind that is you play Lords and Changelings, and then you get all the Lord effects on the Changelings. And so I had this Avian Changeling out. It's a 3-mana flyer with Changeling. And somebody took control of my turn with Worst Fears. I don't know if you've ever heard of this card. It's a black card, costs a ton of mana, but you can take control of somebody's next turn.
Oof.
So somebody Worst Fears me, and so my turn comes around, I untap, I show them my hand, and he just like tanks for a long time. He's just like, okay, I think I got it. And he says, I'm going to move to combat. And he declares attacks at himself with the Avian Changeling. And he says, you know what? I'm not going to block. He takes the damage. He then casts from my hand, forces me to cast Knowledge Exploitation for its Prowl cost, which I had exactly enough mana to cast. Knowledge Exploitation is a 7-mana sorcery. And you can cast it for 4 if you have dealt combat damage with a rogue this turn, which my Changeling was. He says, I'm going to make you cast Knowledge Exploitation targeting myself. So he then picks up his own library, searches through it, and pulls out Toxic Deluge. So 3-mana sorcery. When you cast it, you can pay any amount of life into it, and it makes all creatures get -X, where X is the amount of, of life that you paid. So he says, you're going to cast my Knowledge Exploitation and pay your entire life total into it. So not only did I lose, what happens when you lose the game in multiplayer is all of the spells that you have on the stack get removed from the stack. So it didn't even resolve, and he didn't even lose any of his creatures.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it was something. I was just sitting there like, I can't even be mad. That was actually incredible.
Yeah. Wow. Should have bought him a cupcake afterwards.
Yeah, that's kind of beautiful in its cruelty.
Yeah, so evil, so good.
Oh, well, I just like that story. Not because, like, I enjoyed it because there's a lot of Lorwyn cards in it.
Yeah.
Lorwyn. It's a gross old set full of totally fun and fair cards. Becca, do you have any stories where you were like, maybe Magic isn't my game?
It's not as good as that, but mostly because my memory is bad. So let me just tell you about the last Commander game I played last weekend, which was against Jacob Bertrand and Ashlyn Rose. And I was playing Xyrus, the Writhing I don't know, snake god. It makes a bunch of 1/1 snake tokens anytime it deals combat damage. And I had equipped it with something that gave it double strike. And I was wheeling and dealing. I was like, Jacob, let me hit you with this, with my commander, and it's going to be 10 damage, and that hurts. But you will draw 10 cards, my friend. And he goes, okay, yeah. Should have shook on it. He, 'cause, we did this, and then he was like, hold on. You also draw 10 cards? You didn't say that part. Undo. And I was like, what I should have said is, then I undo my combat step if we're playing this friendly game with undos. But I was like, oh, well, okay, then it doesn't go through. And he killed my commander and then immediately like played Narset and shut everything down.
Right.
Both my opponents had out Rhystic Study, and, which would have been awesome for me because every time my opponents draw cards, I get to make a snake, which is so much fun.
And you were going to make him draw 10 cards.
Yeah, he ended up winning by milling himself and having Jace out. The
Classic.
Jace commander that you win if you go to draw and you can't. So it hurt me, but I was impressed by the ingenuity of this mill deck. Yeah,
I would have taken that deal. I love drawing
Yeah.
cards.
right.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't want cards?
If I've learned anything from Josh Lee Quiet, just draw the cards, even if you die.
The person who draws the most cards wins or has the most fun drawing cards until they die.
Yeah, like I put these cards in my deck. Why wouldn't I want to see them every game?
Yeah. If you don't have 20 cards in hand, what are you
Yeah,
doing
what are you
with
doing
your
with your
life
life?
in Commander?
You don't have your reliquary tower out yet. I made a commander joke. I'm so proud of myself.
That was really good. Yeah. bravo.
Princess.
I love how in your stories you respected your opponents at the end of it. I just got very bitter. So I was still a baby commander player at the time, and I had just learned how to like create synergies. And so I built a Rashmi deck because I was like, I want to create counters and proliferate. I love to proliferate. I always have, always still do. And so I had all these little things that interacted together, and I was having a good time playing in my little pod at the time of just a bunch of local players. And this one person always had the Morph Sidisi card as his commander. And he would play this card. I forget the name of it because I'm so traumatized, but it's a turtle. And when it comes out, it makes you flip all your cards.
Ixodron.
Yes.
Ixodron. Yeah.
And so I would like, this deck was so precious to me. I bought a doubling season. That's how I really worked really hard for this deck. And so I had my commander out, I'm ready. He plays Exodron, flip. And you can't do anything. You can't run and flip it. I had no interactions. I couldn't use any of my big cards. And so I needed him to kill me, and he just wouldn't do it. So he wouldn't just kill my Rashmi. Like, I would block with it, and he would just be like, I would say, I'll block with this. And he's like, flyers. I never wished for a card I loved to be killed so much. And because of that, I got so bitter that I went out and I got the Empress
Galena.
so I could steal his commander eventually, so I could be able to reflip my cards if we ever try it again. But though he played it two pods in a row, and each time did the same thing to me. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, I don't like this morph mechanic. I do not like it. I don't want to see it ever again. And so it was, I got smashed, and I ended up loathing a whole feature as a result. I still don't like you, Morph.
All right, so now we know that Princess like feels a little chilled go down her spine when you see a face down card.
It's true. Because my whole thing is like, they're gonna make me do it too. Yeah. They're gonna make me flip. I don't want to flip. I want to look at my cards. I paid for them.
Yeah.
I'd rather them be stolen and used than be flipped.
Yeah.
At least they get to live their lives and do their thing that way, right?
Right?
Yeah. But when they're on the board, they're like stranded there, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't do anything with
They're
it.
in this liminal space and they're so unhappy. They're
Yeah.
like, play me. And I can't.
Help me, kill me.
I want to.
I prefer to.
You're like, anyone got a board wipe here? Like,
It's the one time, so no one has
Please,
damnation.
Oh.
Okay.
Right. Or toxic deluge.
Right.
Those are stories that make you feel bad about Magic. But what about some stories that make you feel good at Magic? When we were talking about what formats we played and having a little get to know you chat, we realized that Becca and I are Team Limited, and Princess and Jim are Team Commander. So even though we didn't sit right for this, but that's okay. We'll just we can't truly have a battle, but we're going to try and woo the other side over with like what's good about our formats. So
Okay, I'm easy to woo though because my loyalties are shifting. I realize. I'm sorry, Kathleen. I mean, hardcore limited all the way is what I meant to say.
I mean, limited is, there's a lot less cards you need to worry about. And you don't then if you play a lot of limited when the set rotates, unless you're really planning on schooling someone on a flashback draft on Arena or something, you can just forget about that. You don't have to devote any long-term memory cells, which to me are a limited and precious resource.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that point.
Yeah.
I have excellent short-term recall, and the amount of Commander players that can name any card throughout all of Magic history, I'm never going to be that person. I can remember one set and one set only at a time. That's why limited is great.
Okay.
All right. Would you like to start, or would you like me to?
Sure. Commander is for fun. It focuses on resonant experiences. No, actually, the one thing that I really love about Commander, this is my Commander, raison d'etre, is if you think of a really cool interaction that you had once in a game, in a limited game, in a standard environment or whatever, you can build a deck that's designed to make that happen consistently. You can be I really love that in Origins Standard or Theros Standard, where you could play Abzan Constellation. I really loved Abzan Constellation. And you can just build a Commander deck that's Abzan Constellation. You can play that forever, even after it rotates out. And the best part about it is the format is so stable that you can build that deck, then stuff it in a drawer for 3 or 4 years, and then pick it up and play it later. Yeah. And it's still going to be legal, odds are. So I think that's my best elevator pitch.
For me, I just love the ability to make decks that are built on just complete nonsense. I love the chaos of it. I mentioned, I'm building a Kenrith deck right now that's just royalty themed, and I'm just putting nobles in it, and it has real combos, but the real goal of the deck is to play beloved princess, equip her with so many things, and then kill people with it because it's my name. And I just love that you can play Commander however you want to play it. You're not limited but you're not limited by any imagination. You can create any kind of combo you want, and because there's so much product, too much product, some might argue, you find new ways to figure out how you want to play. And you can build your really optimized Commander deck, or you can just have fun, and you can find people who want to be in both lanes. And as someone who got into, speaking back to how many cards it is, as someone who came into it, I think a little bit before War of the Spark, it helped me actually go back and learn about the different lore, and it got me invested in a totally different level, because it was well, what do these sets mean? What was it coming out? Who are these characters? How'd they get into the series? So it really made me care a lot about Magic as a storytelling mechanic as well.
I mean, those are very good points. That sounds
fun. Jump in with a new point.
Ooh.
Although I am playing devil's advocate because most of my Magic time lately is spent crafting Commander decks. But I like limited for exactly the reason that it is limited, because sometimes the best creativity comes with constraints. When you're working inside the box, you think, okay, how do I blow out what's in this box, versus all the freedom with Commander is very intimidating. And with limited, you can't net deck, which is something I really like about it, because I am a net decker for anything constructed, but it really forces me to use different parts of my brain and find those synergies myself, and then be really, really proud when I do.
There's no better feeling than being when you're drafting and you're okay, I've identified the open lane. All the cards that I need are coming to me. The whole table has formed a psychic agreement about who's getting what, and I'm getting paid off, and I just through this combination of cards that no one is talking talking about just discovered something completely excellent. Limited needs to walk and discover those weird interactions so Commander can run.
Yeah. I don't know though. Like, so I'm like a magic hipster, right? Like, you know when people are playing their commander decks and they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize my commander deck could do this," right? Like, I've never done this before. Like, that's not even good enough for me. Like, I'm chasing the commander dragon where I want to be doing something that nobody has ever done before. You know, that brings me so much joy. So when I can be like, these two cards were never intended to interact. They weren't designed to be in the same environment. They weren't. The people that designed them were not thinking of the environment that we're playing them in. And you can do some stuff that really, like, I'm sure, you know, you ever watch those game playthroughs where they're like, oh, the developers watch speedrunners play the game they designed? I feel like that's what Commander is. Where, like, the game devs are looking at this and saying, what are these people doing with these tools that we give them? So, like, that's what brings me the most joy in all of Magic.
And sorry. No, I was going to say, to go into your point, I think also as a deck builder, you can limit yourself. You know, for me, it's like I have a vampire tribal deck that is like Lycia, Sanguine Tribute, because it's harder for me to play with the restrictions of like, this has to be a life gain vampire deck. I'm not going to have the Edgar Markov. I'm not going to have the things that would make it an easier play. Like challenging yourself through what tribes you like, you know, like just even with making the Kinrith deck, it's like, I'm not playing this the way that is the right way. I'm playing it my way. And you create those limitations and you find ways in which to sort of play with these different tribes. I think that's why I think tribal is such a fun thing, that you get to really limit yourself to make the most optimized version of this one thing that you love so much.
I'm going to say the exact opposite point, which is that I like to not break things. That's right. You heard me, nerds, in the comments calling out any mistakes we've made. I like to give the card developers exactly what they wanted to give me. It's like giving a child a present on Christmas morning and watching the joy on their face. That's what I want the R&D team to feel when I play their limited and I say, I see this puzzle you left for me to find, and I did find the synergies you wanted me to.
I don't find those synergies. They just go like right over my head.
You know, I don't find them either, but I want to.
Well, good points all around for why we should or should not be playing I think realistically what we've agreed on is play more Magic. Maybe we should all try Standard as a middle ground. More smaller card pool, but more freedom.
Sure.
That's where I net deck my best.
Me too. I am like such a net decker. I am not like a builder. Like the most I can do is like Marvel Snap because it's 10 cards.
You can play Pauper.
I love Pauper.
I do Pauper.
I've been getting into it lately and it's awesome. Again, smaller card pool, right?
Way smaller.
Much smaller card pool.
Yeah.
But also a little bit more on rails.
A little bit more on rails, but I would say depending on like what Pauper deck you're playing, it can be almost as degenerate as some commander decks.
Fairies is
disgusting.
rough.
Which I like.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, we found common ground.
All right.
With Wilds of Eldraine, do you think we're going to get more fairies?
Ooh, I hope we get more princesses.
Oh.
And
We
also
always
fairies.
need more princess in our
There aren't enough. Thank you.
All right, moving on before we get down a rabbit hole because I have prepared questions and you know what? We got to keep on moving. All right, our next prepared question. I always ask people this question. This is what I call my 5 hot spicy pepper question.
Just people, no animals.
Yeah. What is your most controversial food take?
Ooh.
Previous food takes we've had is like ice cream is overrated.
Oh no, that's rude.
We're throwing down gauntlets.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone will oppose me on this, but I'm gonna say peanut butter on everything.
Ew.
I put peanut butter on my eggs.
Chaotic.
You do toast, you do peanut butter, and you do an over easy egg. It's the perfect protein filled breakfast.
Did you eat that before you were pregnant?
Yes. Actually, I haven't had it in a while. Now I'm like, give me 10 pancakes, please.
Wow. All right.
I feel
So
like that could be good with like hot sauce. Do you put hot sauce on it?
You can. I won't judge you.
Okay.
Habanero jelly, actually.
Sure.
And
yeah,
peanut
I could
butter?
totally see
I
that.
can get down with
Yeah, I
that.
could totally see that.
Yeah.
I'm coming around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you've sold me.
All
I
right.
think you've sold
I
me.
gotcha.
How do you feel about this? Is my I've said this one before. Ketchup on French toast.
Nope,
Not
that's
with like
gross.
a
That's
not.
wrong.
There's no sugar in the batter. It's just eggy bread. So it's like a savory dish.
I'm not like a big fan of French toast to begin with.
Oh, I love French toast.
It's like a little on the mushy side for me.
My hot take is that I hate ketchup. I think ketchup is a disgusting condiment. I would rather put like my favorite condiment to put on like burgers or hot dogs is A1 sauce. So I just go straight to
Okay.
that because I really like the smoky flavor. I think ketchup is most of the times too sweet, and I would much rather have a savory flavor with my meat foods.
Interesting.
See, I really like sweet sauces with meat, like especially Asian sauces that have
Oh
a
yeah,
little bit of sugar in them.
that to me is different. Like I think a
Yeah.
sweet and sour sauce,
Sure.
different. Ketchup is like it's the acidity of it. Everything about it is just kind of like I could have. Every sauce is better. Honey mustard is better. Regular mustard is better. Like it to me, it's just like the meh of sauces.
Do you ever cut it with mayo? Mayo and ketchup together is the best French fry dip.
Oh,
I'm not
tough
really
one.
I'm not really huge into mayo, but I have
Oh.
recently got into blue cheese and ranch. I like ranch now. It took me a while.
Sure. Ranch is not as big up here in Canada.
Oh really?
Yeah, like they bring you a 55-gallon drum at a table at a restaurant in the U.S., right? Like,
That's correct, yes. There's a spigot on every table.
right.
I remember when I went to
Land of
England,
plenty.
and it was like the first time that I saw like the vinegar on chips,
Yeah.
which I really like. I think that's a really
Like
interesting
white vinegar or malt vinegar?
malt.
Malt vinegar.
Yeah, that
real
was a
good.
really interesting.
Yeah.
That was a game changer.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, okay. I got one, and this is maybe for the Canadians.
Okay.
I put
Sorry.
ketchup on my poutine.
Yeah, it's a French fry.
Oh,
The gasp in the audience.
I know. we're pausing for the Canadian gasp here.
Sacre bleu.
Yeah, I actually really like the flavor of ketchup and gravy together. I think it's really good. Underrated.
huh.
Yeah, I'll try that. I'll try that.
Yep.
I have one that I don't really want to talk about, but I do have a phobia to a certain crustacean on a plate.
Okay.
I freak out. I have to like hold in my vomit if someone orders this particular crustacean. I can't even say the name at a restaurant.
Oh no.
I gotta keep eyes up.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
so mysterious.
Yeah.
All right, James, cancel the seafood buffet.
I love salmon, tuna, sushi. I'm in, but I was vegan for a long time. I grew up in the Midwest, very landlocked, lots of barbecue. I just didn't try fish till my mid-20s, and I don't know. I'm seeing this one tailed little red disgusting thing. I
Okay.
can't.
Big or
I can't
small?
deal with it. Yes.
Both? All of the crustaceans?
Yeah, I mean, like if
Little Mermaid
there's
must
a
be so
lobster or
hard for
crab
you.
that's alive, it can be cute. If it's on a plate, I'm so freaked out. And then there's one type, horror. Like this is my one phobia, and it's a weird one. You know, phobias are unexplainable.
No, it's
Yeah.
you're valid.
I feel like crustaceans, though, like, I don't know. It's one of those, you ever hear people talk about, like, the first person to ever eat an animal? Crustaceans got to be, like, what was going through your head.
Yeah,
Like,
word.
they are alien-like.
Well,
Yeah.
lobster
Right.
is this fine dining thing now,
is now,
but
yeah.
originally settlers in New England were like, "You eat this disgusting monster,
Sea
of the
spider."
sea."
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like bottom-feeding alien
Yeah.
bugs.
And
I mean,
that is
they
how I see
literally
them.
are bottom-feeding insects. I mean, sea insects. But yeah, like,
like a
you wouldn't
giant
eat a
cockroach
pill.
to me.
Yeah, you wouldn't eat a pill bug.
Yeah, you'd have to be like pretty hard up to.
I mean, after the apocalypse, that's all we'll all have to eat. But
Oh, I
Pay for yourself. I'm gonna go full vegan then. I'm gonna be in the grass.
Oh, I'm
Just
gonna be
chilling.
like on my
Chilling
roof
on
watching the blast. I don't want to live. I am highly evolved to do internet sketch comedy and content creation. Without an internet connection, I have no value to mankind.
No,
well,
I plan on being full Michonne. Like I'm gonna do very well because I've been
get you katanas.
because it won't because that's the best the best weapon in a zombie apocalypse is something with a blade, nothing that refills, nothing that is gonna like clamp, because that's when you're gonna get too confident and then you're just gonna screw over your entire commune.
Well, to shout back to our earlier conversation, I'm going Octavia Butler, Lilith Brood, and I'm going to mate with an Owen Colley after the apocalypse. Yeah. Check it out.
Jim, what's your wig out plan?
We've moved on from hot takes on food to, or maybe it's like apocalypse hot takes on food.
Yeah.
Oh, good question. Like, I don't know. I
keep
cook
a machete
a lot.
under my bed just in case.
That's what I have learned the value of a machete though.
Yeah.
I started playing Left 4 Dead recently.
Yeah.
Machete real nice in Left 4 Dead.
Yeah. Or a cricket bat, because they're harder and
Sure.
flatter. So that's also a good one for.
They put it to
Left
good
4 Dead's
use in
fun.
Shaun of the Dead. The cricket bat.
Yep.
Yes. Best
Maybe that's
use of cricket bat.
My role in the apocalypse is going to be putting on "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen. So we've got all a good soundtrack for
Amazing.
the
We need to have good beats for the apocalypse.
true.
Oh.
If I lived,
Segue.
I was going to end up like that DJ. Have you guys seen the most recent season of Kids in the Hall? Where Dave Foley's playing this post-apocalyptic DJ, and the canonical story, which is not revealed in the sketch, is that a band of raiders came through and stole all of his records except for Brand New Roller Skate, which has a horrible scratch in it, so it just repeats, and he's just going on loop until his power runs out and his ventilation shuts down.
There you go.
Uplifting.
Lo-fi beats to survive too.
Right, exactly. Well, since you came for Canada, I will say my final food hot take is I think there's nothing to be thankful for when there's turkey on the table. Turkey
Yes.
is disgusting.
Okay, so
We have ham. Like,
my
let's-
sister is like a homesteader and she raises turkeys. And I think that last year when we had turkeys from my sister's farm is the first time I've ever enjoyed turkey. Oh, actually, they have like these heirloom variety turkeys.
Like the Bob's Burgers turkey.
I don't know what's above.
Oh, sorry. There's an episode of Bob's Burgers where he gets like this heirloom turkey, and he's like, "It's
Yeah.
the best turkey you ever had."
Yeah.
So it's like it's true.
Yeah, I think one of the big problems with turkey is that just grocery store turkey's not good. It just doesn't really taste like anything.
The best turkey I ever had was not this Thanksgiving, but the previous one. My husband and brother-in-law, we were on vacation at a resort, but they were like, we are going to smoke a turkey for 12 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So they bought a Home Depot smoker. They did it on the resort. We were on a beach, so they were just sitting on the beach drinking beers as they smoked this turkey for 12 hours. And then they sold it to somebody on Craigslist after they used it once. Like, once used smoker.
Oh, sold the smoker. I thought you meant they sold the turkey.
No, they fed the family the turkey.
Legally.
That
like-
would have been so rude. Legally,
Yeah.
you could not smoke a turkey for 12 hours and not feed your family with it. And that was the best turkey I've ever had. But this year we just did chicken because if they weren't going to do that, we're not
fair.
doing
It bumps you up
store
into a
turkey.
new bracket, you know, and then you just can't go back.
Smoke it or nothing.
It's like getting air conditioning in your car, you know. Once you get it,
Oh yeah.
that's it.
Or just central air.
Wait, you started with the no air conditioned car?
Yeah, we live in
You
Canada.
can do that here.
It doesn't get hot
In
enough
LA, you're
in
like,
Canada.
that's just a death sentence.
Yeah, well, back when I had cars without air conditioning, I lived in Missouri, and that gets up to like 110. I don't know what that, probably 32 in Celsius.
No, that's like above, like, I think 110 might be like above 40 or something, right?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
pretty,
above 40.
pretty
Yeah,
close
that
to
sounds
40,
right.
I think. Yeah.
And humid, so literally melting. When I was in college, and the AC would go out in the car, but still get snow. So that's why I like LA. Neither of those extremes occur.
Yeah. My first car didn't have AC because it was
Yeah,
like
mine
a
didn't either.
2000 Honda Civic. So if it got the 2 weeks a year where it gets hot, you roll down the windows.
Yeah. You need a block heater though. You know what a
Yeah,
block
you got
heater
to
is?
plug your car in because it
You gotta
gets
plug
so
your car in.
cold.
We have heaters in the engine to make sure that the fluids don't freeze.
That's crazy.
That's awesome and terrifying.
Yeah.
You live in the wilderness.
Like
He
actually,
lives in
though.
Manitoba.
You should be more
Yeah.
prepared for the apocalypse than us.
I went on a work trip once to northern Manitoba, and there was polar bears on the side of the highway. Actually,
Whoa.
So-
Were they happy?
they're scary.
A polar bear is enormous and
Yeah.
is looking to eat as much as possible. And boy, we look slow moving and juicy.
Yeah. Yep. You don't even have to smoke me for 12 hours.
And you're a hearty meal too. So I feel like it's like they're like
I don't want to brag or anything.
The polar bear is looking at you, and it's like Wile E. Coyote imagining like a chicken walking around. It's like those drumsticks.
just hard eyes is all around.
Speaking of like, this is my last controversial food take, and then we'll move on to our last topic. But this Christmas, it snowed in Victoria quite a bit. We had like a big cold snap, which is like fine for any other country in Canada. But Victoria, we live in like, this is literally the warmest place in Canada, pretty much, like consistently.
Nice.
There's other places that get hotter, but we don't get as cold as most other places. So our cities do not have snowplows. They might like have one, because what is the point of owning and maintaining all of that? If you're going to use it maybe once a year, maybe once every 3 years, right? It's just not worth it.
Well, things are changing. Who knows?
Oh yeah, climate's getting, yeah, hooray. But we don't have snowplows. So we got this huge unseasonable dump of snow where we got like 15 inches of snow like overnight.
Whoa.
So it was a lot, and the whole city was shut down, and it was going to be like right over Christmas. So before that happened, there was like a real chance that our like family Christmas dinner would be canceled, but only a chance. So laying in provisions, there was a sale at the store of those like Butterball pre-made turkey loaves with like the stuffing core already in them. They come in a mesh bag because I didn't want to like, I wanted to be able to have a Christmas dinner if we couldn't go up to the in-laws house, but at the same time I did not want to buy an entire turkey, so I figured this was a good middle ground. That and a can of cranberry sauce. If we can't leave, then at least we still get a dinner.
Cranberry sauce.
We ended up being able to go up there, and then like 2 weeks later I was like, I can't, this thing is actually big and is like taking up a lot of room in my freezer. Like I don't have infinite space, so I'm going to make it anyhow. So we had a New Year's turkey, and those mesh footballs of turkey protein are actually pretty tasty. They have a lot of salt in them.
I feel like we're missing an
preservatives,
infinite mana, infinite freezer space joke
Yeah.
here, but yeah.
Oh,
All food tokens should just be turkeys like that. Just like with the stuffing already in it. Just-
By the way, cranberry sauce, real good to mix with mayo. Better than ketchup.
Ooh.
Yeah, if you
On
ever
a
have
turkey sandwich.
Mayo with
turkey
anything.
sandwich with cranberry mayo.
Ooh, yeah. The best part about Thanksgiving is the leftover sandwiches the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuffing on a sandwich with cranberry sauce.
There's
Can't
a
beat it.
bagel place in Winnipeg, and they make a stuffing bagel. It's like poultry seasoning, and it's got dried cranberries in it, and it's like perfect for a turkey.
Let's go.
That
Let's go right
sounds
now.
amazing.
I mean, you're from New York.
I know,
so
but I
it's-
would love
it's
that
like-
with some lox.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that would
Oh.
just the palate thing
Really
of it.
good.
Ooh, yeah.
delicious.
Food.
Well, everybody likes food. And in the interest of us being able to go for lunch after recording this podcast, we'll move on to our final question of the day. And this is a question that I'm asking because I'm asking the question. My question is, what are some of your favorite bands? And why, yes, I will kick us off because I love music. My favorite bands are white men who look like they smell like patchouli, aka psychedelic rock music. So I really like my favorite band of all time is an electronic band called Boards of Canada. It's like two Scottish brothers, and they make beepity boop music, and they were very active in the early 2000s. But you can go back and listen to their albums and be like, oh, that's why this album that came out in 2015 sounds the way it did. Neat. So they're great. And my other favorite bands are bands like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, because I am a degenerate 18-year-old boy essentially at heart, and stuff like that. Jim, what makes your heart sing?
I have like a really eclectic taste in music because I got into these really like phases. I went through a lot of phases.
Yeah.
I went through like a really long punk phase in high school. I had a mohawk at one point.
Oh, I can see it.
Pixar
yeah.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
At lunch.
And so like, at one point, the only CD in my car was an Out Come the Wolves by Rancid. Which
Oh,
is,
yeah.
like, it has a special place in my heart. I can sing every song on that album.
Nice.
Yeah, I went through like a big like post grunge phase with like Audioslave, Temple of the Dog, like everything that Chris Cornell ever did. And now I'm into a lot more like mellow stuff. Like I've been listening to a lot of Cœur de Pirate. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Heart of Pirate. Yes, I have heard of them.
Yeah.
The older you get, the more mellow your music taste
Yeah.
gets. It's a fact.
Yeah, it's very like folksy French kind of indie whatever, but a lot of like Tegan and Sarah,
yeah.
that kind of
That's
stuff.
good
Yeah.
therapy,
You're getting mega points for the CanCon here, Jim.
Yeah, like CRTC, hit me up.
Yeah. Hey, CRTC, if you're looking to sponsor some Canadian content creators,
Hey. Sorry.
Is it me?
Becca, what music do you listen to if you need to get pumped up or calm down?
Oh, yeah. Both. I have my Spotify Chill and my Spotify Hype. And those are the two playlists that I exclusively listen to. I love some folksy stuff. Really into powerful female vocalists. Aurora is a really great one. I love Maggie Rogers. Lana Del Rey is classic. And then we get a little harder with some Lizzo, with some Cardi B, with some Megan Thee Stallion. But the thing that I was like, you know what I think my number one album of all time is one that I used to listen to in high school that I recently was in an altered state of mind and put on pre-pregnancy and like needed to play for my husband who never listened to this type of music because I also had a punk phase, a hardcore phase, a pop punk phase. You know, I live the aughts. And I wonder if Princess knows this album. The Ugly Organ by Cursive. I know every word.
I know Cursive.
I love that album. It's got like a whole Pinocchio theme. And back when albums were listened to cohesively and like each track rolls into the next and it's just like that bass starts pumping and I'm there. I'm transported to the show, front row, in early 2000s.
Are you a fan of when like a whole album just like flows together and tells a big story?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, now I am on Spotify Shuffle, so
Right.
if it did, I wouldn't even know. But when I bought albums and drove around in a car with a CD player, that was the thing, you know?
Yeah.
You had to.
That's the slippery slope to prog music, though.
Yeah.
You start, you're like, hey, these two songs go together. It's like the domino meme. That's the beginning one. It's like these two songs flow together really nicely, and the end domino is like I'm listening to Roundabout by Yes.
Yeah.
Princess.
I'm gonna narrow it down to bands because if I go to artists, it'll just be a whole wild thing. But I have to say my favorite bands are X-Ray Specs, Lacuna Coil, Hailstorm, Paramore. And then this heavy metal band called Straight Line Stitch. They are from Tennessee. It's a black vocalist is like the front runner, and I saw them live when I was studying abroad. They opened for Lacuna Coil, and I had front row VIP seats, and she headbanged on top of me, and I could feel her sweat drop on my face, and I was like, love this! Yeah, I really was super into like goth metal when I was a teenager, and I've never outgrown it. But it is funny to go back and listen to it because so much of it is very Jesus-y, like Flyleaf. Like I was super into Flyleaf, and I was like, oh, they're talking about Jesus. So, but just in terms of like single artists, I would say I love like Florence and the Machine, FKA Twig, Beyonce, especially these later 3 albums have just been really excellent, really good cohesive albums as well. And I really love the Pretty Reckless, which they're a really fun one.
Yeah.
They're really fun. I love just the amount of alternative black female artists we have now because there's Rico Nasty and a bunch.
I love Rico Nasty. She's so talented.
I love Rico Nasty, like her stuff, and even though she says some dumb stuff online, Doja Cat also makes really interesting, fun music, and like the rock version of Say So that she did was really good, and I was just like, do this. And also my soft pick is Miley Cyrus when she also does like Plastic Hearts, that most recent punk album that she did. Really good. Stick with that, girl.
In conclusion, music is good.
Yes, in conclusion, we do all like music, but we also all like going for lunch. And I don't have any more prepared questions.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Oh, yeah, I love being put on the spot. I'm super good at improv. So the person was like, I've run out of questions, so the podcast must be over.
I feel like you like Doctor Who. Would that be a correct thing to say? Which is not my question, but I want to make sure I'm not going to get you if you don't like it.
I feel like I should like Doctor Who more than I do, but I'm not much. If there's too much of something, I won't start watching it because I feel like I can't. There's only so much space in my heart for enormous continuities of things.
That's what kept me away from magic for too much of my life.
Yeah.
That fear, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need the entry point, and for me that was Matt Smith.
Yeah, I was gonna ask who your favorite doctor was, but so like if you had to say like what's a thing that you feel like you could like but it's too much out there for you too? Like it'd probably be something like Doctor Who.
Probably. Somebody was like, "Oh, you should watch Steven Universe. You'd like it, Kathleen." And I was like, "How many episodes are there? 100?" They're like, "Well, they're short." I'm like, "Still, there's a 3-digit number there, and I am intimidated."
Listen, people out here watching One Piece, 1,000 episodes.
Yeah. That's how I feel about
JoJo?
Star Wars, though. Just in general, I feel like it's very like the universe is so massive, right? And I see all these people, and they're like, "Oh, you should watch Andor. You should watch Andor." And I watch it, and I'm like, "This is fine," but I know there's like so much there.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know. I'm the same way as you. I can't like commit that much brain space to it.
If I could commit brain space to anything and could start watching something with a lot of history, I'd absolutely watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure
Ooh, that's a good one.
because I think I'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just there's so much of it.
It took me. I broke the seal finally with Star Trek, but I think the only long-running thing, because I love Star Trek now.
Yeah.
My mom's a Trekkie, so I had to eventually get into it. I think the longest-running show that I want to get into, I guess, is probably Supernatural. Like people have told me like, you love it, you love Buffy, and I'm like, yeah, I do love Buffy, so I don't think I need Supernatural, but everyone's like, you should try it. So that and Sherlock are like the two that if I had the space in my soul, I would try.
Well, I got to shout out that I have a Star Trek rewatch podcast. We've been on hiatus for a while, but it's called To Boldly Watch.
Oh,
You
We
can
have
find
to
the
discuss it at
first
lunch.
4 seasons of Star Trek discussed at length. And it gets very philosophical because there's so much socialist futurism in that show.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like it's one of those shows where, like, how do conservatives watch this? Like there's like especially Deep Space Nine. I was just like, I just don't understand.
I saw.
Cognitive dissonance.
It's the same
Downs.
same thing with like people are like, "Oh, when did Star Trek get so political?" Or people say the same thing about X-Men. And it's like, do you know what these are about?
Look at the source material.
look at who wrote them! For God's
so-
sake!
It's one of those things where I'm just like, you realize that everyone who created comics is like, most of them are Jewish. Like, it's like first, second generation during the World War era. It's
Yeah.
like,
Accept it.
Yeah. So I have never seen Sherlock. I think I would like Sherlock because I like mysteries and stuff like that and stuff. And Graham and I have a also defunct rewatch podcast where we're rewatching Magnum PI.
Oh, no. That's, deepest of cuts.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, I just thought if I was going to do something like that, it would be my mom's favorite show, which is a Western, and it's Gunsmoke. Imagine doing a Gunsmoke rewatch. That's 22 seasons of time.
Oh,
Like
it's
before The Simpsons, that was the longest ever thing out there.
That's too many shows.
Sorry, I have a short-term memory. So I want to say, I think I found my thing I would get into, but I haven't got into it yet. I really like fantasy series. So maybe like a Joe Abercrombie or a Discworld. or something
Discworld
like
is
that.
so good.
I have never
I've heard
started,
it's
but I
amazing,
think
yeah.
I think it's up my alley.
So, as someone who's read all of the Discworld novels, the nice thing about Discworld is that there's a million Discworld novels, but they're not all about the same group of people. So you can be like, you can read a few, you can and there's some standalone ones as well, like Feet of Clay is not a standalone. Small Gods is standalone, as is Pyramids, and those are just like good introductions to the world. Especially Small Gods is excellent, and you only ever have to read that one, and it'll give you context if you other ones. But if you're like, hey, I like Watchmen and solving, well, not the Watchmen, but I like the idea of following the city watch, busting corruption and fighting crimes, there's a whole series of books that feature Sam Vimes. If you're like, I like witches who meddle in the affairs of the supernatural and of the idiotic, natural.
Yeah, more that than the
I
law
was gonna
one.
say,
Yeah.
with that.
There's a whole series of witch books that are really good. If you're like, hey, are there any books about a good-natured personification about Death himself and his awesome granddaughter? There's
I
a
frequently ask that question.
a series of books about that. And if it's like, what if you really like how cities work and you want to see sort of behind the curtains of political intrigue and stuff like that. There's ones that are about a guy named Moist von Lipwig as he accidentally
gross.
invents lots of stuff like, currency and postage and stuff like that. Oh, and there's also my favorite ones when I started reading them, which is about silly wizards getting up to mayhem. Mm-hmm. Those were my favorite ones when I was like younger. Amazing. So Discworld, you can just pick some of them.
Okay, I'll take Discworld and raise you the Dresden Files and leave it at that.
Yeah, big fan, Jim Butcher.
Hell yeah.
I like those books as well.
Oh,
Jim,
we got
what would
dress
you get
heads.
into?
Ooh.
Infinite
It's a
time.
really tough one.
We put you in a bubble. You've got 3 months and no other responsibilities, just to relax and
Like
the video
maybe-
games you would play.
I know we were talking.
like-
Princess and I were talking about this over drinks the other night. But like maybe Souls games.
get good.
Yeah, like I'm so not good. So like,
Dark Souls series?
yeah, yeah. I'm a really big fan of open world games, and so I think I'd probably do that. The thing is, like my video game playing style has changed substantially since I was younger. I used to be able to sit down and play something for 6 or 7 hours at a stretch. Now I have like an hour, or
Right.
like maybe an hour and a half. So I played like lots of shorter games. I played a lot of Slay the Spire.
Yeah.
You know, it takes about an hour, you know, and it's kind of self-contained. So I'm playing lots more like roguelikes and that kind of thing. But I would probably get into something that you could just like zone out and play for a long time in one sitting.
We mentioned Factorio during our Everdell game. That's a.
Yeah.
It'll get. That was 15 hours I can't get back.
Oh, no.
Oops.
But you enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yay. And we got to plug so many different things. So now you, the audience, now you can have a new obsession or tell us what yours are.
Yes, exactly. Tell us in the comments what we should be spending our precious free time on. Tell us in the comments what you're spending your precious free time on. Hopefully it's watching this channel and all of our other channels. And
All of our channels too.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
You got homework.
yeah, go. Anyhow, thank you so much to our wonderful guests, Princess Weeks, Becca Scott, Jim Lepage. And if you haven't checked out the PPR, please do. I'm sure it was amazing, and the replay is incredible, and that's also on our channel. And
Sorry for giving you that bad beat, Jim.
Oh.
Yeah, but it felt good for me.
Yeah. It was incredible. You know.
if this prophetic conversation comes true, please let us know. Until next time, thank you so much. And remember, this podcast is sponsored by CardKingdom.com. They're a kingdom of cards, and they paid us to do the thing. And God, we appreciate it. So please send them some commerce by going to Card Kingdom and ordering singles or sealed product somewhere in the States. And if you use your code LRR, if you go to our affiliate link and you say LRR send me button, please, you get a free button that says a pox on the auto shuffler. And if you're not going to patronize Card Kingdom, maybe patronize us through our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.